The first time I ever gave a speech in public, or the first time I ever spoke to more than five people, was actually when I was 3 years old. Now, this was at a party, and honestly, I don't remember if I was confident or not. But the probable or the most relative thing which I can remember today was when I was in 8th standard and I was speaking to my school. I was talking about the environment or something pretty boring. But that doesn't matter. What matters is how freaking terrified I was. I remember being so scared that I was honestly a joke, alright? I needed to muster up all the power of every single living god in order for me to just stand there without shivering. But I got through it, and I'm happy to say that that person is still in me. The latest speech which I ever gave was in college, and it was to around the same number of people. This time, before I got onto the stage, I was still nervous. My legs were still shaking. But the difference, however, was this time I was used to it. So let me just begin this overall YouTube video by telling you that confidence isn't a specific power which you gain. It's something which you become used to. Every single public speaker out there is naturally a little bit less confident than how you think they are. Each time they go up on the stage, they're just much more nervous. They're a little bit more scared, but they're used to it. They know how to handle it. But in order for them to reach that specific level, there's a few methods which they have followed. Now, each one of this, each to their own, as they say, each one have their own methods, each one have their own things which work for them. But I have a little bit of a framework which you can follow, right? Let me split this video down into two categories. The first one would be the theory side. By theory, I don't mean something which is boring like from a textbook. Something which is basic knowledge which everyone needs to know. And the second part of the YouTube video is going to be the practical side. Beginning with the theory side of this video, I want to speak about the first thing is that you need to do is prepare your speech. After that, it's to practice and rehearse, the most underrated one. Then it's to relax and take deep breaths, another one which is actually very, very important. And then the final one, which is to be confident. I'll explain that later. That comes in part of the practical side, right? So the first one which you need to do is to prepare your speech. Think about it. If your teacher asks you something about what you're interested in, you'll be able to answer them very freaking well. But in case a teacher asks me about politics, then I'm just there like, yeah, politics is good. The politics, it's good. That's just me sitting there, right? So the first thing which you need to know is try increasing your general knowledge. Read some books. Try to read some newspapers and stuff. These are all theory stuff, which is, if you do it, it will of course help you. Another thing is when you prepare your speech, make sure that you have a basic framework, right? Don't just think about the topic and feel like you're prepared, because you're not. You just have the basic framework. You need to write a little bit of the main points in your mind or in your book or something, just to make sure that there's something quantitative which will help you in the future. Take some time to prepare yourself. Take a few minutes. Whenever she asks you, always go like, and while you're saying that part, prepare. Okay, so my name, education, A, B, C, D, and then start speaking. Okay? The next one is to practice and to rehearse. Now, while you're practicing, there are many methods of practice. I'm just going to keep this short. The most effective way to practice is speaking to yourself. You don't want your mom to think that you're some sort of weirdo who just talks to himself. So try practicing by looking into a mirror and speaking, or try recording yourself and listening to it, okay? Whatever you don't like, correct it. There's no better teacher on earth apart from you. You know yourself better than any other human on earth will ever do. You can hire me as your teacher, but only you will know your mistakes better than I ever will. Moving on, the next one is to relax and take deep breaths. Now, one thing which most of my students have in common is that they start speaking pretty well, but in between, sometimes they get a little bit of hesitation. They sometimes stammer. And that's okay. Stammering happens with everyone. There are non-verbals, which it is called, just that I sound fancy, non-verbals. Basically, the silence which you take in between sentences, like that. The breath you take in between speaking. All of these things is essential. You need to take breaths while speaking. You need to have a little bit of break because your brain can't keep talking that fast. During those breaks, you can use it to your advantage. While you take a breath, then you can think of what to say next, right? But for that, you need to understand that you need to come up with a practice which helps you relax. For me, before it was to pinch my thumb under my fist. Whenever I used to do that, it made me much more comfortable, much more relaxed, and then I can go ahead. So for you, some things which can make you relaxed is the most basic one. Take a deep breath. It's literally a second long and it'll make you come forward much more better. So that's something which can work for you. Now, let's move on to the second part, most practical part. This is something which has boosted my confidence immensely, and it is to act like you're confident. Have you heard of the saying, fake it till you make it? I was always never a super confident dude, just because I didn't want to be, or maybe because I didn't realize just how much beneficial it is for you. But then one day I saw this one video on David Goggins, and I just started to sit more straight. My back was always straight while sitting. I decided to walk with my chin up. Act how you know your future self will act. I know that I will be a super confident person in the future. Then today, act like how you will, and slowly you will see that you are your future self. This is literally the most best advice I can ever give you. This is the most practical, the most realistic advice. Whatever you want to be, act like it, and slowly you will become like that. Become a better cook, then you can ask yourself, what will my idol do? What will maybe Gordon Ramsay, what will he do? Okay, so this is how he holds the knife. This is how he cuts juliennes and stuff. This is how he dices onions. If you do that one step a day, or you don't have to look at it like that, if you keep making small changes like these, you will become like him. So overall, the most important thing which I can tell you is act like who you want to be like, and slowly you will become it. You want to become like David Goggins? What does he do? He runs. Run then. You want to become a super confident speaker? Then what does that idol who speaks confidently do? Do that. Slowly you will see that you're slowly becoming that person. That's just the most important value which I can give you from this lesson. But overall, I hope this thing actually helps you. Try watching it as much as you want. Try rewatching it, because we know if you want to learn something, you have to go over it again and again and again. So yeah, if you have anything more, you can just ask me. But for now, that's enough. Peace. Take care. It's hot as hell here.